Um, I think that's sort of part of the problem that we're having now is that even a question like that, it sort of makes no sense because we live in such a diverse world, and the problem is not that we don't have one leader to unify the world, it's that we need to have many leaders representing the many different people and being able to coexist in peace. So I think, yeah, I think it would be a tragedy if we had one president of the world, but I think it would be good if we had a lot of leaders who could communicate with each other, you know. So. I think that, I mean, it depends on, you know, I think different people, what they consider as being part of the world is different, you know. I really don't think there is such a thing as any kind of a united communication between humanity at all right now. So I think there's the Western world, the Eastern world, there's the totalitarians, there's the Democrats, there's and it's just I really think there's actually a lack of communication, and and the world is ruled by itself, and that's what actually we're seeing because of all the environmental, you know, as much as we think we can harness and rule the world, the environment is now just changing so drastically all the time, and I think the world is ruling itself, and we just have to be careful because at the rate that the world is starting to rule itself because of how we've treated it for the past long while, it might kick us out. So yeah, the world rules itself. Well, revolution is a really interesting like topic because, you know, it's important to not be passive and not let things happen. If you see that something is going wrong, you should be able to kind of turn it around, you know, if something's going drastically off course. But I don't know if revolution is ever the way to do that because I was reading these lectures by Stravinsky, and it really blew my mind because he said, well, a revolution, you have to remember that a revolution is a closed curve. So in the true sense of the actual word, it's you come all the way around. That's a full revolution, is you go exactly back to where you started. So I think it's typical human stuff to try and make a revolution because we just want to fix the problem like right away. We want one drastic thing, and revolutions are very bloody, they're very messy, and usually at the moment that the oppressed overthrow the oppressor, right away the oppressed become the oppressor and the next oppressed, you know, exists. So I think that better than a revolution, I don't think, oh, that's okay.
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, that's all right. So I think rather than having a revolution, I don't think anything could have me start a revolution, but I think rather than treating it like that, we should just gently steer things into a proper course so we don't accidentally revolve all the way and start at the same point that it's been. So like, you know how, you know, like in chiropractic or something, if somebody has really severe curve in their spine, you don't just, if you go really rough, then you'll just break the spine, you know, because it's just so used to being in that spot. But if you work over many years and you just gently, you know, gently manipulate it and then strengthen the muscles around it to change the habits and everything, then you actually can achieve, you know, in 5 years the person could be standing straight up. And so I think that that's sort of the way to treat our social and economical and socioeconomical and everything should be treated gently and not, you know, revolution's the short way out. It's bloody and messy. So I think. Well, I think that absolute power, you know, is never good. I mean, we learned that from The Godfather, but I mean, there is something to you know, in our current situation, dictator, I think, is always negative. I know that the actual like in ancient Rome, they had dictators too, but they were allowed to come in only at the time of crisis and manage it. And then there was, I guess, in a time of crisis, if dictator at its original, like ancient Roman way, would be used, then it's just somebody to unite everybody in the time of crisis, but that person doesn't have an indefinite term. You know, it ends once the crisis is averted or the problem is done. And so, you know, I think that in some ways, if we could just have like if the environment, like if we keep on going into a horrible state, and then, you know, every other day there's tornadoes and floods, then we might need, you know, like one voice to actually just alter, you know, how everybody does things. But then that person would not be able to stay on indefinitely the way a dictator does for, like, you know, 30 years or 50 years ruling with an iron fist. You know, they would just come in as the voice during a crisis, and then once it was done, they would, you know, go back to a more, you know, checks and balances kind of rule.